Baymax. Switch small nightlight. Every room's all need a nightlight. Okay, now we're past the grammar. Let's check this out. This is a typical nightlight. It's really common on eBay. eBay is just absolutely awash with these. And the listing for this says, so this came from Deal Deer, but as you can see, there's just loads of sellers. And the listing says Baymax 220 volt sensor LED night light bulb energy saving lamp gift. And I'm not sure about the sensor bit because I have tried this. And it's got this switch on the side, this generic little switch that you see in so many sort of cheap electronic products. And all it does is turn it on and off. It doesn't seem to have a light sensor in it. So let's try it out. That's a good option. Let's try it out. I'm going to adjust the camera. I'll plug this in, turn it on, and I'll adjust the camera so that you can see exactly how I'm seeing it. Here we go. So the middle of it is lit fairly brightly. The external features, the head and the arms and the feet, are just a little bit dimmer, but it's not bad. It's fairly even illumination in general. It looks fine. And intensity-wise, it doesn't look too bad. It looks quite reasonable indeed for a nightlight. Okay, let's unplug it and open it and see what's inside. Most of these lights tend to have a simple capacitive dropper, but the fact this one doesn't have a light sensor makes me wonder if it is using that. It's held together by two screws. Is it going to come apart? Oh, it's not coming apart. Is it clipped? Oh, it's got the little pins. Pins going into round receptacles. I think I'm going to need the spudger for this one. The unit is also, it's got sort of interlocking plastic teeth all around it, which is quite good. It means that you're not getting sort of cracks or chinks that light can sort of shine out around it. It sort of closes up completely. It's not a capacitive dropper. I don't see a capacitor here. One moment, please. I'm just going to take a picture of this and then we can take a closer look at it. Here we go. The picture has been taken. Let's explore this. So we've got one supply lead coming in here and it's going straight to the rectifier. We've got the other supply lead coming in here and going to this resistor. The resistor is marked 683, which means 68 and 3 zeros, so 68K. And there's another pad here, and I get the feeling that it's designed with the option for, say, maybe 120 volt use, or just to spread the dissipation, and that's quite an important factor here. I think this lead might have actually been designed to go here, and another resistor tacked across here to allow higher current. Actually, that would make more sense, the 220 volt one, because in reality, on 120 volts, the light's going to be a lot dimmer, but this resistor isn't going to get quite as hot. So we've got the current limiting through the resistor, and basically speaking, the output of the bridge rectifier is going from the, let's say, positive, going up to the end of the circuit board, through this LED, under the bridge rectifier, this LED, and then back to the negative. It's super simple. It's just a bridge rectifier, resistor, and 3 LEDs. Very, very simple indeed. I could doodle the schematic down for you, but it will not be a surprise. Basically speaking, AC in, a resistor, in this case 68K, then a bridge rectifier, full bridge rectifier, and then I can even draw all the LEDs because there aren't that many to draw, 3 LEDs. And that's fundamentally it. All it does is you power it up, the resistor limits the current, the bridge rectifier rectifies it, and that means that the LEDs are going to light for most of the sine wave because the combined voltage will be somewhere like 9 volts. It's not going to be that much, so it's going to light early on in the sine wave. There's one slight downside to this, and it's the resistor. The resistor gets pretty hot, as you'd expect. The current, and actually I should measure the current, shouldn't I? Let's measure the current. So let's plug this in, turn it on, make sure that thing stays put. Let's bring in the meter. Let's put it to DC 20 milliamps. I'm not expecting much more than 20 milliamps. And let's bridge an LED out. Let's bridge the one as far away from the mains as possible. 3 milliamps. Okay, 3 milliamps. Let's make sure I put this back to the normal setting so I don't... I say this in every video that I do this. Well, almost every single video. Sometimes I completely forget to do it. Always make sure you move your meters back from, when you're measuring current, move your meters back to the normal voltage and resistance type setting position, because if you leave them in the current setting, it's a dead short and you'll probably blow the fuse in your meter if you try and probe a battery or something with them. So, yeah, 3 milliamps. Let's do the maths then and see what this resistor is dissipating. 3 milliamps, oops, 0.003 times 240 volts, which is what our supply is here, equals about 0.75, so about 3/4 of a watt that resistor is dissipating. Let's try doing it in reverse then. So 240 volts minus the voltage of LEDs, let's say at that low current, they're going to be about 2.5 volts each, so 7.5. Nothing really major. I equals V over R, so that's divided by the voltage that's being dropped across this resistor being divided by it. 68,000 equals, yeah, about 3, it's saying 3.4 milliamps, but 3 milliamps in general. Just out of interest, what would it be if we ran it on 120 volts? 120 volts minus the, say, 7.5 equals... I equals V divided by the 68,000 ohms. It would run at, well, that's kind of logical, it would run at half the current. It would run at about 1.6 milliamps, which is still going to be quite bright. So this is compatible with sort of the American. I mean, it's going to run a lot better. What would that be? It was 1.6 milliamps times the dissipation of the resistor would be 0.0016 times say 120 volt. The dissipation would be 1/4 of a watt, not even 1/4 of a watt, 1/5 of a watt. So this resistor is going to run super cool if you were to get these and plug them in an American supply or a Canadian supply, anywhere that's around about 100 to 120 volts. It's a very simple design. It's about as simple as they could make it. I wonder why they used the, I suppose, in a sense, in the UK on the 240 or even China on 220 volts, I'd kind of prefer them to use 2 resistors in series. It would have spread the dissipation. The resistors aren't that expensive. That would have actually lowered the dissipation and also increased the voltage rating of the resistor by putting the 2 in series. This, incidentally, a lot of people think this is the American plug that for 120 volt, but in reality, this is the Chinese plug for 220 volts. But you know what? Visually, it looks fine. Not overly thrilled at the temperature that gets up to, but it's no great deal. I suppose with these 2 pads here, you could actually chop that resistor off and you could actually tack on an external resistor. I might do that right now. One moment, please. I was halfway through this and I thought, why aren't I filming this? Because that's the spirit of the channel, isn't it? Wait for you guys to arrive and then continue. So here we go. I shall join these 2 resistors by soldering the legs together. Now, I've chosen 2 100k resistors, which is quite a significant increase, but I think the brightness will still be acceptable and the dissipation will be much lower. So now I've done that, let's leave a modest distance to allow extra lead length for dissipation and actually shake that bit of lead back out, that one. Let's tin this. So I'm going to tin the leads like this. Then I'm going to flow with this tiny little bit of solder. I'm going to flow onto these 2 pads, the ones that look as though they were for the other surface mount resistor option. I've removed the main surface mount resistor. Let's solder this lead on here. Let that cool, then just swing this down, bit fumbly, bit of a risk of burning fingers here, but not to worry. Oh, that is quite fumbly. And potentially finger burny, oh well. Finger burny, finger burny, finger burny. That'll do. Okay, so I've got two 100k resistors. Let's do the maths. What's that going to be? I is going to be V, say 230 volt divided by 200k. Oh, it's going to be huge, isn't it? It's going to be a milliamp. That's good enough. 1 milliamp is absolutely fine. That's what typical neons run at. Let's plug this in and see if it works for a start. Yeah, that works. And then I'll just put the cover back on. And then turn the light off. Oh yeah, that's still perfectly acceptable. That's all right. And now those resistors are going to stay much, much cooler. I wonder what temperature they'll get up to. One moment, please. I'm just going to check that with the thermal imaging camera. 53 degrees Celsius. I think that will do absolutely fine. They're running so much cooler because of the increased surface area and lower current. So that's a good result. So there we go. That's not bad. Now I've put those resistors in, I'm more comfortable with the voltage rating and the power dissipating rating, and you know, I'd comfortably use this as a nightlight now because the ratings are all much better. The one thing that's would be nice would be to be able to change the LEDs. I suppose the only way you could really do that is to get the standard little straw hat LEDs. You know the ones. Do I have any here? Yes, I do have one here. Let's fumble about and see if I can find one. These little straw hat LEDs. Use one of these, solder it on like that, and then fold it up using the existing surface mount pads. That might work. But having said that, in a sense, the colour of this one, the cold white, actually suits the character because that's the colour it is. It's that cooler white. So you know what? As these things go, it's pretty hackable with the resistors. It's very simple. There's no fancy electronics, no capacitor to go bang. It is about as simple as you could get. So it's actually quite an acceptable little thing.